people need affordable ways to build and live in homes. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you, because we need a different approach.
Community is based around bioarchitecture. So it's an intricate ecosystem inspired by permaculture, and that's how we're going to get these food forest communities with bionic bioarchitecture and people actually enjoying living in them.
This isn't just about building a house. This is about community. This is about how we function as societies. Welcome to our new interview here at our new studio, the Brighteon.com studios. And this is actually our very first interview here in the new studio. And we're joined today by a repeat guest who is a bioarchitect. His name is Alosha, and we spoke with him, I think, about a year and a half ago. He's got something big to announce here today that we're going to be sharing with you in the interview. So welcome to the show, Alosha. It's great to talk with you again. And I know that your work has inspired a great many people, so welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Good to be with you.
Well, it's good to have you here. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. So let's start with the basics. What is bioarchitecture in the first place?
Well, bioarchitecture, in my understanding, it's a way to build a home without climbing into debt. With your hands, or even if you are employing a laborer too, it's extremely optimal. It uses mostly natural materials or super low cost materials. And it's the ability to plug in things like Vastu and Feng Shui, which basically sorts out the energetics of the space, biogeometry, which is the energy of shape, which removes the electromagnetic radiation, which I tested. And it just goes out. I can't even connect it to a Wi-Fi inside one of those things. It's generally considered as not a huge building. Something that's bigger than a tiny house, but can be the size of a tiny house, but it's generally not a massive building because it's made of natural materials that are usually using a bit of muscle, although we're moving towards 3D printing these days. It's a cozy home that makes you feel like you're in a temple. I call them living bioshelter organisms. Yeah.
All right, that's really important. You hit upon a couple of things there that are really critical. Number one, we have a housing affordability crisis in the West. In America and other Western countries in particular, we have an entire generation of young adults who are absolutely unable to afford housing. The houses are too expensive and they're also very unhealthy. We've interviewed other experts about that, where the space doesn't work well. The space doesn't have the right light coming in. They tend to grow mold, and you already mentioned the electromagnetism. If the shape is wrong, and some people in Eastern philosophy might call it feng shui, right? But I know it's more than that. But we have houses in America that are too expensive, that are unhealthy, and that just flat out don't work. So what you're talking about, I think, is really critical. We need to rethink where people live and how they create these places where they live, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's just a couple of little hacks. Like if you submerge your home in an area, in a dry area, obviously not in a wet, swampy area, but if you're in a dry area, which a lot of America is, the West Coast, I believe. Anyway, so then you already can, like 2 feet or 3 feet, use up the earth. First of all, it acts as a buttress. So if you're doing a vault, vault is like a lateral, it's got lateral force going outwards, and the earth berms it and pushes up against it. So you don't have to have any structure because the arches push against the earth and the earth does not go anywhere. So therefore, that's the one thing. So you already saved yourself like 3 feet of building walls all around. And plus, it's a stable temperature. We build a home in Siberia. You won't believe it. Nobody believes it. I've spent $800 on this timber vault, which are actually one of the courses that today we're going to discuss. It's in the package. But yeah, I built this vault for $800 with 2 pensioners. They were about 60, 65 years old. I think one was 70 and 65, in working 4 hours a day for 2 months. And I spent $800 on materials. It was
Wow.
second-hand glazing, triple pane. I had to search on the like a junk mail type of wherever the online second-hand building supplies sites you have. I had to search around. I had to drive to get those windows, obviously, but the whole thing cost me like not more than $1,000.
So
In
wait a second. What
America,
were the primary structural materials? Was it earth or straw bale or tapia or something like that?
no, it was, believe it or not, it was like C-grade timber that
Really?
we bent without any steam. We just put some pegs that we just sharpened with an axe in the ground, following about 8 meter diameter. At 8 meter diameter, which is 24 foot, it doesn't snap. Anything tighter radius than that, you need to steam the wood.
Ah,
So at 24-foot diameter, you don't need to do any steaming. So it's a super easy method. And then you just put 4 planks together. You hammer them with nails going crisscross, crisscross, a bit on an angle. And that's it. And you've got this beam without any glue. It's like a glue lamp beam, but without any glue. And then you have these timber beams that go, in about 6 of them. And then it's a self-supporting structure. And we just put some boards on top, some super cheap insulation with like reflective and, the main key was the clay lock. It's basically clay and grass mush that's locked it up. So that makes the sod that goes the next layer does not slide off. And
uh-huh.
obviously there is a waterproofing layer, which was just 2 layers of plastic. Yes, you can go expensive pond liner, but if you go 2 layers of plastic, foundation plastic, even if on one pierces, you still got the second one, and it goes way past the structure, and you've got drainage channels, and then you basically, and you do this all like low tech. I mean, what is that? Mike Ochler's $50 house. You know what I mean? That guy built a house for 50. You've heard of it on parames.com. They advertise it quite a lot. That Mike Oakler, I'm sure I mean, they'll find it. They know what I'm talking about. So it's truly, truly possible, but you got to scrounge about for materials and be creative about it.
Right, right, of course. But what I love about what you just described is then that the wood that you have bent and put into this shape, you've created an arch out of it that has built-in tension that is structurally supporting the loads on it.
As
So
long as the ends don't pop out. So as long as
right.
that's what the earth is there for. The earth. So that went into logs. We pulled the logs out of the forest ourselves. You cut little sockets into them with a chainsaw, and it goes into the log like that. And then the rest you can see in the video. It's pretty simple. Yeah. And I just had one American repeat that vault in Washington State. I just spoke to him yesterday. It was truly amazing. So the courses work. And the other guy repeated my acre dome, building a 5-dome structure in India just by watching the videos. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So those who want it, they do it. So we do
Okay.
various methods.
So, all right, let me then mention how people can learn more about this, because we have your course that's going to be airing for free at brightu.com. And here it is. It's called the Bio-Veda 2D to 3D BioTecture Draft and Build Class. And this streams for free beginning November 22nd. You can register right here at brightu.com. And from there, you're going to learn how to do this. And you can also, of course, optionally purchase the course and download it all, or you can watch an episode each day. So, Alosha, could you just give us a brief description of what people are going to learn in this docuseries class? Because I think a lot of people are looking for a cost-effective but more, earth harmony kind of way to live that's going to lower energy costs, it's going to lower heating and cooling costs, it's going to improve air quality and improve resistance to electromagnetic pollution, but it's going to cost less money. So walk us through a little bit about that course, if you would, please.
Okay, so the course that's being aired on the whole journey on your site is the design course, okay? But with it, I actually give away all my courses, which is the dome, 2 types of dome, the acre dome, which can be made with any bricks, such as hemp or normal standard bricks. The sandbag dome, as per the Cal Earth method, which I learned in America as well. The aircrete, by the way, is like Dome Gaia with those giant windows. And my whole water course, which is 3 types of water tanks, biochar drinking water filter, natural pool, which can be like a reservoir for the water that's going to be a stealth because it's a pool, but you can drink it. And I have lab tests that this is drinking water. So it's a whole water thing with lots of terraces, and I built a giant wall, 150 feet long, that stopped the river. The river went up also 20 feet high, and my wall, being in a curvy shape, actually stopped that river. So those are all the courses I'm just adding on. And the Gothic arch blueprint, which I've just actually added today to one of your crew members, is the step-by-step blueprint of actually all the layers that have to be there in order for the structures, such as the Hobbit vault or the Gothic arch vault, to be proper waterproof without any drips. And I actually did the blueprint in the 3D program that I teach, and I'll speak about that shortly.
Okay, so wait a second, right there. I mean, there's a concern. Some people might be concerned that they have to master a complex program to do this. But can you explain why this is not, insanely complex for people to learn?
Look, the program, I love it, and I take it. So the main course is the 2D to 3D design course. So actually we draw on paper, front view, top view, which is plan, slice through in north, south, east, west. So I do it all on paper. So that's the first part of the course, okay? So what they're going to watch by streaming is they're going to watch the course is the design course, with just one lesson per day of the timber vault building course. But all the other bonus courses they're going to get. We'll speak about it just now. That's what I spoke,
okay.
But the main is the design course. Yes, it is Rhino 3D. It is an incredible software, and I teach it step by step by step, really taking you through the whole thing. It's super intuitive. It is professional, and for bionic natural building. And I'm not talking about natural building as just a little shed with a triangular roof like SketchUp does. I'm talking about if you want to do some interesting shapes. And this is, by the way, great for children, because I started learning in a similar program called 3D Max, the first version in 1994 when I was 14. So this is great for kids, and this is actually where I'm moving towards: education by mimicry and by architecture education for children. So yes, this is the design course. The reason that the design course is important is because you want to be able to draw your own home from scratch,
Right.
because you might have a different size to what I wanted. You might want to have you might be a short person and you don't want a standard big door, or you want 3 bedrooms because you got 3 kids or something. You know what I mean? So you want to ultimately be able to design your own home. But I teach you the principles. Like, there's very important principles of bioarchitecture. So actually the first 4 lessons is the principles, like how close do the openings have to be between each other. And these are what I learned from the masters such as Mike Reynolds and Nadir Khalili and those amazing architects in America, by the way. And then after learning from them, I came back to South Africa, and I built all these things out that were taught to me, and I ran multiple workshops in about 5 countries. So I replicated everything I've learned, and I added my own flavor, and the design course allowed me to design all these amazing bioarchitectural structures, which were very much Earthship inspired, with the greenhouse on a sunny side. So I'm about solar passive architecture, and I can show you quickly what I'm designing right now. Could I share screen?
Yeah, hold on. I have a question before we do that, though, because you mentioned that you've taught these in many different countries around the world, all these principles. And one question I can already tell that our audience might be asking is, are your principles appropriate for every climate? Or does it only work in, dry places? Or does it only work in warm places? I mean, or can they be applied anywhere?
Well, look, Mike, the beauty is that the last 5 years I've been living in Russia, and I'm developing a home right now for Siberia, which is Canadian type of temperature.
Yeah.
And the 25 years I lived in South Africa. So that was the hot and dry climate. So yes, I'm applying both strategies and speak about both, and they are different. There is no such thing as a standard home for all climates. Like for example, in a hot climate, you're looking at like big overhangs, so your sun does not blast in the summer, and in winter it comes in. Yeah,
Right.
like a typical Earth ship with this front glass at an angle will not work in a very hot Californian climate. It'll just bake. And in fact, they forgot to open the windows one day, and the typewriter melted. So this is very
The
serious.
typewriter.
Yeah. That's his own story. Yeah. So when you work with laws of physics, it can be really handy, but you got to know what you're doing. Like for example, the cooling strategy is we have here in Russia the temperature of 4 degrees Celsius underground, really, really cold. So whole of summer I can be pumping that cold air into the house without using any aircon. So that's another principle of natural building, is that it's passive heating and passive cooling.
Yes.
And otherwise we're not talking about, if we have to run an AC a whole of summer and stoke a fire or the whole of winter, that's no go. So this is the house after I've learned with the at the Earthship Academy in Taos in 2011. I spent the last 14 years developing a home, like my version of a sacred geometrical Vastu inspired Earthship, and that's what I wanted to show you on the screen. Yeah, actually, like, let me show you the tiniest little home. I mean, this is just the tiniest. This is many years back. It's just on my screen right now. I wasn't showing, but I wasn't planning on showing. But that's like a little Carl Earth dome and a little geodesic to frequency. And this is like what doesn't even need a registration, with authorities for this kind of small structure. And the coolest thing is that we're planning to do a waterfall of water that runs through a wetland. So it's like a water feature that you can stand under and shower, but to building authorities, it looks like a water feature, just a constant waterfall that keeps on falling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why you can get away with not installing plumbing, but you can actually have a shower. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm working on, the serious structure I'm working on, is this guy. This is my major. So this is what we're looking is a base of an Earthship with tires, and you've got a bit of a foundation. Yesterday I drew a bath, as you can see, and let's just pump a bit of layers in. So there's my walls. By the way, so the walls are hyper adobe. It's 1 part cement, 10 parts sand, and the sand can be taken from the ground and from the land that you're on. So there's the side domes, okay, also inspired by Carl Earth, with an entrance based on Vastu.
Well, is this, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is the style of that construction, is that like earth bags where you put the sand, you mix the sand and cement and then you stuff it into the bags and then you layer the bags?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the future of this is you can see all the layers. Yeah, you can see all the layers. So this is the program that I teach, and I love this program. There's the roof sheets. There is gutter there. I mean, everything is there.
Wow.
And there's the onions. So this is my version of the Earthship. The onions is there is the outer plaster, there is the insulation foam, and there's the bricks. So the same bricks as I teach in the course, this is like the final frontier. So this is the aircrete bricks that go up. So you can see all the details I've gone into. So I'm doing a blueprint of this home, basically. So what I've done different in a way as to an Earthship is I am forcing the heat into the let me hide that. I'm forcing the heat through these little spirals, basically, and I channel it through from the greenhouse. The greenhouse has this double frame, and inside clear polycarbonate, and outside has some black pipes. I won't find them here now. And those black pipes channel that heat constantly into the spirals, which obviously is part of the burial. We're talking about the Earthship, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if we talk about the Earthship, then we've got the insulation, the isoform insulation, yeah. Then we've got the first insulative layer. Then we've got not the insulative, the waterproofing, second waterproofing layer, and of course we've got our earth berm. But before I do that, I've got to show you the aircrete. Behind is the two aircrete little bedrooms here. Also very, very cool, very, very, very affordable. So you've got a space that's small. You've got like a little bedroom, and you've got a parent's bedroom, and then you've got this big play space that's 24, 27, 6.5 meters. That's 22 foot by 20 foot by 15 foot. And underneath, I've got all these channels, and they're basically through these channels. I send cold air in summer from underground, and hot air, which are stored up in this berm in winter. And that's how I get this home fully passive. Yeah.
Wait, so do you have fans that are pushing that air?
Yeah, just tiny little fans. Just tiny little
small fans, right. And so the air is moving heat or coolness around as appropriate. How much less expensive is this compared to a typical, Western built home, wood frame, drywall, roof shingles, the whole deal? What's the cost difference?
Look, first of all, the earth bag can be used without cement if they are waterproof. So if the water doesn't go in there. But we do use about 10%, even 9%. So that turns all the earth bags into stone. The main thing is the labor. So if you could get, and I figured out a quick way to do this, like a large concrete mixer, 5 guys, and you can pump out 4 rows per day of this structure. So Michael, the main thing is that you're never going to pay for electricity to heat this home or for cooling of this home. And second of all, it's not even, if it's buried, it's not even seen. That Hobbit home that I give away as for one of the courses can't be seen from a satellite. It's like a mound of earth from the top and there. So you don't even have to have this metal roof. I don't know exactly what the costs in America are going to be, but the main thing is, if people can get the labor, get it done. So, and the way I'm seeing is like 3 friends getting together and building each other a home in one summer. That's really the optimal, if you don't want to use labor.
So I guess a big part of the cost is going to depend on whether you have sand on site, right? So if you have sand on your site.
I was able to use clay. And it doesn't have to be like perfect sand. It could be little stones up until 1/2 inch big, a 1/4 inch stones, also good. Clay up to 40% clay, also good. But yes, sandy, you gotta, if you haven't bought land, choose land where you can get a little bit of sand, so take a spade when you choose land and actually dig a bit into subsoil and see what's underneath your feet. It'll be good to know anyhow.
But so if you have on-site material like that, then I would imagine your costs are going to be extremely low, but the labor is the issue. And I think, so one of the questions that viewers might have is, well, I can hire guys who do drywall, I can hire guys who do framing. I don't know how to hire any guys who do earth bag construction. So is this something that can be taught very easily?
Michael, it's so easy. In all my construction, and you'll see in these courses, are literally 2 guys off the street. I took the lowest paid labor, and I would recommend to eat with them, to treat them well, to like people should be treated, because I was not. I wasn't all that well. Like 10 years ago and didn't eat with my guys. I prefer to eat with my guys. So they feel that connection, you know what I mean? So you're not like white boss sitting somewhere and you do it with them. You do it with them and you keep up the spirit going and you work with the guys and things go really, really fast. In fact, I was able to achieve with two other guys speed of 240 running feet per day of the bag. And it's 4.5 inches high, and it's about 8 inches wide. So if you look at my hands, about like that, the final, and stomped. It's a rammed earth technique.
I see.
Look, Michael, the most important thing is that I teach 3 methods. The Hobbit Vault course doesn't have any sandbags, or if it has a 1 day's worth of sandbags, like 2 or 3 rows. And then the rest is all timber structure. That's the one I did with 2 pensioners in 1 month, 8 hours a day, if you do it for 8 hours a day. Okay. Then I teach aircrete dome as well. So you might not want this structure. You might be in a much warmer climate. You don't want this giant earthship or what. It's not giant, I mean. But anyway, you might not need this earthship thing. You want to build a bit of aircrete domes and just get on with it, like Dome Gaia style. And those just use bricks, 1 foot by 1 foot bricks, and they go up with you and your kid can do the whole structure. And the whole dome goes up a week. So I do teach 3 methods of construction in this training.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? Some of them are more difficult, like the Hyper Adobe, and then you got the aircrete blocks, the AAC lightweight blocks, which are super easy. The timber costs a little more, but you can also scrounge for timber C grade that's not good. They like want to throw it away, and you can get it a little treated and use it up. So you got to be creative about it. But I do teach 3 methods that was shown in this picture now.
All right. Well, that's really good that you've got 3 different approaches here. Let me just remind people that if you have interest in this, even if you're not building a home currently or planning on moving, this is something that you might want to consider, especially as our economy changes, our housing situation changes, as the weather changes, whatever's happening. You might want to reconsider where you're living now, especially as the power grid becomes less reliable. In the United States, the power grid is not reliable. The Eastern grid, which affects 13 states, they're already warning people that they're going to have rolling blackouts on either very hot days or very cold days. And the way homes are built today, in the summer, they're just going to bake if you lose air conditioning, or in the winter, you're going to freeze because they don't store any heat or cooling capacity. They're not passively cooled or heated homes. So check this out. Go to brightu.com. That's the word bright followed by the letter U, brightu.com. And you can register this course. It's going to start streaming free of charge on November 22nd, with another episode streaming each day for a little over a week. And just watch it and learn and absorb. And if you want to get the full course and download it and everything, you can optionally purchase it, but that's not required. And it might inspire you. It might inspire you to change the way you think about where you live. And Alosha, that's, this is something I wanted to ask you anyway, because in the West, we build boxes, we just build boxes, and they're not energy efficient. And the way they achieve energy efficiency is to have them sealed so there's no air exchange with the outside air. And then you have indoor air contamination problems from all the chemicals and the VOCs, and the furniture, carpet, glue, everything. They call that green. That's not green, man. That is not green. That's toxic. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. It's very important because I myself very sensitive to this air quality, and I know what you're talking about because I feel like just claustrophobic in these structures. So the way that fresh air comes in, check this out. You've got a pipe that comes in underground. So let's say you got really, really cold outside. Okay, you have a pipe that runs about 90 feet. Only 5 feet in the ground, 5-6 feet deep, okay? Which is, quick excavator work. And then that super freezing air preheats to 8 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it's, it's comfort, it's almost good. comfortable temperature is 22 degrees Celsius. So that freezing air comes in through the pipe, that enters, preheats up, and then you only need to get it up another 12 degrees to be super comfortable. So that's how the fresh air comes in. And in winter, because usually why you said it's all sealed for a reason, because I don't want that freezing air to come in. The way they do it is they have this box that's called HVAC.
Yeah, right.
HVAC. So that basically has lots of little plates, and it exchanges the air. So the stale air from indoor moves out, preheating the outdoor fresh air that enters in. But those boxes are also obviously quite expensive. So you can hack the system by just using the laws of physics. I mean, and laws of physics, like, you just dig a hole in the ground in winter and see, that it's actually like good temperature and it's stable. At 6 foot deep, the temperature pretty much does not move much up or down. It's pretty stable all year round.
Yeah.
So there's actually maps like that which show you what temperature you have in your area.
Yeah, exactly. I'm familiar with a lot of these principles, and it seems like in modern society, especially in the West, we like to make things overly complicated, where, you have to have these expensive machines. You have, the HVAC, the compressors, the condensers, the air exchangers, et cetera. And then you end up lacking parts. Something breaks, there's a part that you need that is only made in Italy, for example, or Japan or somewhere. And there's a trade war, and the supply chains are all breaking down. You can't get the part. And then you're roasting, you're not able to function. So what I love about your principle. Yeah.
Sorry, Mike. The way the Earthship, just the Earthship, the American Taos, your Earthship from your own country, the way Mike Reynolds has developed them, which is the principle I've taken, is that thing takes about a year and a half to charge. And then the sun can go off completely for 6 months. And that home, just the sheer mass, he uses 5 foot thick walls. We're going to be going to about 6-7 foot thick walls. Those walls just start giving you heat back through the laws of thermodynamics, which state as soon as the air temperature drops lower than the wall, than the mass starts heating other mass. And you, made of water, are mass. Therefore, you start to feel warm. The air might be cool and fresh, but your body feels warm. It's a very different feeling. It's a similar feeling when you stand at the end of a day, it's starting to be chilly and you're next to a rock. Have you ever had that feeling? You stand next to a rock and you're feeling warm, but the air is like cold outside, but you're like nice and, great. You're feeling great. You're not even leaning onto the rock. You're just standing next to it. So that's the power of thermal mass. The other side of it, okay, like before I didn't insulate my floor of my Gothic arch, and the floor was freezing cold. I was stoking the fire and I was burning gas, propane, and an electrical heater. It was so cold. We hit like minus 30 Fahrenheit for like a month in St. Petersburg. And the air was perfect temperature, like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 Celsius. But because my floor was cold, I kept on getting cold because it was sucking the warmth out of me through my feet, even in shoes, even in like a woolly like slippers. It's because you can't fight mass. Mass is so big that her whole floor, 18 foot by 18 foot floor, was just pulling that coldness out of me. But the air was perfect temperature because I had a temperature gauge on the wall. So that's how mass works. Okay, so the way they do it in these closed up claustrophobic boxes, you pump up hot air through these hot heaters. The walls are cold, but the air is nice and warm. But then it feels like a bit dry. So I'm just giving you all these,
Let me ask you though about then. I mean, you're talking about cold climates quite a bit. What about hot climates, like where I am here in Texas, or think about Arizona, Southern California, et cetera? When people have way too much heat because of just, their location and the sun, how do you use your principles to cool, to passively cool?
Well, you've heard how in Egypt and Saudi Arabia homes stay cool. What they do is basically they use the mass again. Obviously, the design. So you got to have a nice big overhang. So your walls don't bake. Very important not to let the sunlight onto your walls. So some form of a structure that can provide shade, which can act as a balcony, it's a casita to sit around. I don't know what's it called. Okay, so that's the first principle. The second principle is you got to have that mass is really saves you because at night it's cool, so the mass cools down. Okay, and then during the day, because of the thickness of the walls, it's slowly warming up. And by the time it gets warm to the inside, now you got night again, and the wall starts cooling down. And that way, the wall stays nice and cool. When I was in South Africa, I didn't even do that shade awning, and I just had my house light color, like a light color. Obviously, color, black car is 7 degrees Celsius hotter than a white car, which in Fahrenheit maybe 20 degrees hotter or something. I don't know. So it was a light color, and as soon as I walked into that structure, it was cool. Another principle is obviously planting of trees in the right place, and that you got to turn to another American. I think he's in Texas or somewhere there, Brad Lancaster, and he is given amazing lectures and has got rainwater harvesting book, and he shows you how planting trees from a certain side provides, just optimal. Like he proven that 20 degrees lower in temperature in Fahrenheit in summer just by placing the trees in the right place. No, not even trees, just by orienting east. So it was a typical rectangular home, and he oriented either east-west or north-south. Just changing orientation dropped the people's, because it was a mobile home, so they were able to turn it. They had a $200 electrical bill in the winter, and it went to zero. That's Brad Lancaster. He just posted the lecture. You can check it out. And I'm not even talking about trees. He also talks about trees and things like that. In South Africa, what I've seen, and this is a strategy, unfortunately, you won't see it on the internet, but I'm sharing it now openly. When then from Netherlands, from Amsterdam, the people came to South Africa, and I know it because I've seen the structure. Basically, okay, picture this. A brick structure, but every second brick, like a chessboard, is removed. Okay, can you picture that?
Yeah.
So it's like the air can flow through this. It's a double wall. Okay, double wall, but they're like chests, they're all removed so the air can swing through. Okay, chicken wire here, and charcoal placed in between these two walls. It was about space maybe 15 centimeters. What is it, 6 inches? Okay, and just dripping water on that charcoal and the air that can go through this wall. That's how they made fridges 200 years ago.
Huh. Really?
So, yeah. It's amazing. They had the temperature 5 degrees Celsius. It's close to freezing in that thing just by evaporative cooling. And that's a natural, simple DIY thing. Another strategy I've seen in California, Nader Khalili, which my teacher at Cal Earth, who I learned, well, I didn't learn from him. I learned from one of his students. He passed away by that time. But what they did is they had a trough of water, okay, like a nice big trough. And they had sheets, lots of sheets in this trough, and the water wicks up naturally.
Yeah.
And they had this whole thing in like a little room with a pipe. And basically by that air going through it, again, evaporative cooling cools down the water. And then that air, you don't have to breathe it. It can go into like a couch, like a rocket mass heats a couch, but you use the same pipes and just channel the cold air. So you suddenly got a really, really, really cold bench. So these are the strategies that I'm like, I love it. I discussed it in this course, and I will discuss it with all your subscribers who join on my private Telegram channel, where, by the way, I give away all my other courses. So all the other courses, the dome, the water, the Gothic arch you already got downloaded, but the water and the dome course, they get that by joining my Telegram group. Other courses they get immediately after purchase.
Okay, all right, wow.
But the streaming is only the 3D design course. So if they're streaming and they're looking like, but that's not what Alosha spoke about. It's just the design course with the Volt a timber vault, hobbit vault building course, just one lesson per day. All the other building stuff is once they join the Telegram group, just so we're clear on that.
Right. Okay. So, and people can find out about your Telegram group from the stream, or how do they find out about that?
Well, they get to the Telegram group once they purchase the course, because they're already getting the Vault course. They're getting the design course, and I'm gifting them the blueprint, which was 3 months worth of work, the Gothic Arch blueprint. That's all they get whilst they're watching and they're streaming, and they get 3 things free of charge. And if they you know what I mean, if they want to get so I look forward to their support, and then we game.
Okay. All right. Again, so the way for people to connect with this is just go to brightu.com, and you can just register. It's free. Just put your email address in here, and you can start watching this course, which is about the 3D BioTecture Draft and Build Class, right? That begins streaming November 22nd, and an episode streams each day. And then optionally, you can choose to download the entire course. You can purchase it. And then you're going to get all these other access to the Telegram group and the bonuses, etc. Do I have all that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just and the important part is not just the 3D. It's the principles of bioarchitecture design and theory, which you get in the first part.
Yes.
Then it's drafting on paper. So I really teach them, how do you draw a home from the top. Then we start looking at it at the front. From the top view, we draw the front view. Then we look from the front, we look at the section, slice through the middle, north to south, and then we slice the home. Like if you take a knife and you slice through a cake, then you do a slice east to west. So just by doing, so people say, no, a computer is not for me, I don't want to do it. I do teach very easy method, which I learned in geography class, believe it or not, how they showed us how we can draw the mountain from contour lines. You know what I mean? You've got some contour lines, and then you can basically sketch that and see the side view of the mountain by just looking at the contour line. Yes. I use a very simple way that I teach how to do, how to see your home, how to put your body, and it's all to scale. We use graph paper that's to scale, and then you can see like 2 centimeters is 1 meter, and you can put your height, and you can actually see what height is the human. You know what I mean? So all those things. So that's very, very simple, understandable way. So for people that don't even want to use a computer, they still get to use understand the paper part, and just with paper part, I was building half of my structures. In fact, all of my structures that I built before, I built just by doing on paper. Huh. The 3D design course is really to take you way further. If you want to submit your own, like blueprint for approval, like if you have a sticky authority or something, or you want to do those detailed details, like what I'm doing right now with this Earthship hybrid with sacred geometry that I'm designing, because I really, really want details now, because I'm building it and I want to mass produce these, not just mass produce, I want to actually mass sell the blueprint of this home that I was showing you, that I built, and people can build this, and maybe in the future it'll be open source, so I want to really get all the finer details, but paper work just fine. Many architects before CAD drew all homes on paper, and they built them successfully.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, things are changing rapidly in terms of technology. I'm wondering if there will ever be automation. So that's my last question for you today. Can you see these kinds of homes ever being built with, we've heard about the large 3D printing home robots that they seem to print layers, right? Or even maybe humanoid robots that help pack the sand. I don't know. Is there any kind of automation in the future for this?
So this is where we're going. Just so you know, I'm gonna switch off the sound. Okay, so look at these panels, printed in offsite, placed without any reinforcement. This is where I'm going. No rebar on a removable formwork, okay? And then you have a structure that's in compression. Now, just picture this, that it can be buried. okay, with an excavator. This is where I'm going. Waterproofing, insulation, obviously, and then up until these ridges, the whole thing gets buried. And then off these parts, this is a bridge, obviously. This is not a home. So it'll be much thicker, or like, and the greenhouses will actually go off these structures. This is where I'm going. So that's the one part. Then you've got guys in Texas. Oh yeah, this is, by the way, everything that they're going to learn. So they're going to learn this aircrete dome. They're going to use the sandbag dome. So this is actually the shots from the course itself. So they'll be able to build these structures. Then this is the natural pool, which are converted from chlorine. That's the wetland for the pool. That's all in your climate, can be done. That's in Brazil we built. So in essence, it's the same as 3D printing. So all of this in future will be 3D printed because it's the same method. It's called additive technology. You add. There's no waste in this technology.
Yeah, that photo right there looks like it could be a 3D printed structure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my history. I work with bionic shapes already 25 years. So I'm probably like one of the few architects that actually went and changed from, you know what I mean? That's so long working with curvilinear shapes. Then I flew to Mexico and I learned ferrocement. Of course, my next natural step was like, well, textile just gets burned by the sun. Let's get it nice and solid. And so that's in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende. And then I came back to South Africa and I built the structure. So a doghouse, you know what I mean? You start small. There's a bit of rebar, mesh, and you get that. Then I went into a seashell structure, 33 foot by 18 foot. So, there it is. So that's all in South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, that's biochar filter. Biochar filter also in the course, by the way. Yeah, that's Cal Earth. That's a vault. That's Nadir Khalili. He came to California, and so the future I wanted to show. Oh yeah, that's the wetland pool. The wetland for the pool. So this is all in the course. Every step by step. How I took the underground water tank, 10,000 gallon underground water tank under the dome. The dome that I was showing you, that's under the dome is this 10,000 gallon water tank. So the course is packed full of cool stuff. But to answer your question, look, this is where we're going. Look how strong this is. Okay, he just hammered the edge, and the whole thing doesn't fall apart. Can you see? So
yeah.
So this is so it's not just, we're not just making it pretty. Let's just make some curves. No, we're actually making super strong structures. You could have a bomb go off next to that thing, it won't break because it's also covered by earth. So there's also, so this is some of the earlier structures that Philip Bloch made, my inspiring architect. This is the home also can be built, designed. It's part of the course, by the way. I also teach how I did that. And I wanted to show you the technologies. Oh, this is where we're going. We're going to build communities, starting with Arco-Science type of massive structures. Can you see how those trapezoid structures, they're trapezoid rooms and a giant workshop space?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're going. Again, low cost. Like I showed you, okay, I haven't showed you yet, but this can be made on removable formwork. So we're talking about structures that can be built without debt. Michael, I lost my home to the bank. 5 years ago because I just walked out of it. I just couldn't pay. It was COVID. I couldn't pay, and I walked out of it. And
people need affordable ways to build and live in homes, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk with you, because we need a different approach in society, for all of civilization. And the way that we build and live in houses today is not the way it has been done through most of human history.
Yeah, so that's the home for $800. This is it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I see it's lagging a little bit, but this is where we're going with this whole structure. This is where we're going. This is the future. Jacques Fresco is of inspiration, and the guys in Texas. This is what I'm searching for. is these, there. That's the guys in Texas. They've developed this printer. Hold on, here we go.
I don't know.
Does
It's
not
jumping around a lot.
Yeah. Here we go. It's just going to settle. Here it is. Okay.
Oh yeah,
They
this is a
developed
3D printer.
Yeah, they developed it. Doesn't need any rails because those printers, they need like rails that this. By the time you set up these rails, that's why I'm staying on Hyper Adobe, which is this material, because you don't need any rails, you don't need any 3D printer. You know what I mean? But this is where we're going. We gotta have a bit of vision into the future. Look at that.
Wow.
Any shape. And then on the roof, I showed you already how we do with those panels, correct? So this is the future. This is where it's all going.
Wow.
But until we get there, and becomes feasible. Like, for example, if me and you are going to get together and say, Alosha, Michael, let's get a community going. Let's build like 50 homes. Then we look into the structure. Then we look into these methods. But if it's a once-off home, there's no need to bring a whole an entire 3D printer, you know what I mean, on a truck.
Yeah, right. No, if you bring it in, you want to print more than one home. But Alosha, we're out of time, so we need to wrap this up. Any final thoughts? I mean, this is so fascinating. I'm really glad that you're doing this and sharing this with everybody. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Well, once they join my Telegram group, I'm going to explain to them how I see we're building the community. This is I put the great spirit in the center. We call it all by different names, but it's the one singular source, okay? And these are all the people we need to be able to pull off new types of communities. But the community is based around bioarchitecture. So we're calling in architects, engineers, builders, sculptors, painters, biologists, limnologists, and so on. So we could form communities based around the theme. So we can put out a product together. Because if we can put out a product together into a market, then we can start generating wealth that can make the whole thing very abundant and beautiful. And we can fly around the world and learn from other masters. And I'll also explain this diagram, which is basically various parts of the community, from training on festivals, kids, to our academy on the ground, to city spots, city locations, and a whole bioarchitectural cluster. We don't have time to go into this, but basically I organize information and obviously all the various interconnections that go between these things together. So it's an intricate ecosystem inspired by permaculture, and that's how we're going to get these food forest communities with bionic bioarchitecture and people actually enjoying living in them.
I love how you're thinking much bigger than this isn't just about building a house. This is about community. This is about how we function as societies moving forward, because our current...
And that's why I'm giving all my courses away, all of the courses in this package, that everything I've done in 8 years, 5 products, I'm giving it away so I can just let go and go into this new. And the new is start building these communities together with you guys. I'm actually giving you this training so you could ramp up and come together and say, Alosha, let's do this together.
Okay, yeah, well said.
And I don't want to do it alone.
The video is finally catching up to to the audio. It was an interesting thing that just happened with the connection. But Alosha, this is just a fascinating discussion. I want to thank you for your time today and for all the contributions you have to humanity with your inspiration and how you're inspiring others. Let me mention again, brightu.com is the place where you can register to watch the full course of the 3D BioTecture Draft and Build Class, which begins November 22nd. And if you do purchase the course, then you'll be able to download the whole thing and you'll have access to Alosha's Telegram channel, which gives you access to a lot of other things as well. So thank you so much, Alosha. It's been a pleasure speaking with you again today. It's very inspiring. You have me thinking about some things right now too. So just great to talk with you again.
And I'm open to come to America and start an academy of bioarchitecture with people like you, Michael. So if you ever want to partner up, I'm here, I'm clean. I'm not on any pot or tobacco or anything. I'm clean and clear, and I'm coming with a heart full of love to really inspire our youth, because the youth are the ones that are going to build us these homes with parents. It's a youth and parents education. So that I'm open and I'm ready to come to America. I just need an invitation.
Powerful message. Okay. Well, maybe somebody watching is just perfect for that kind of project. So thank you so much, Alosha. It's been great speaking with you. Enjoy the rest of your, I guess, evening. Not sure where you are right now, but I guess it would be evening. Thank you for staying up for us. And for those of you watching, this has been a Brighteon.com interview, and you can freely share it and post it or post snippets of it. If anything inspired you, please share it. We ask you to do that. And you can catch other interviews and podcasts at Brighteon.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Mike Adams. Take care.
Stock up on Health Ranger's nascent iodine, highly bioavailable, shelf-stable, non-GMO, and lab-tested for purity. A bug-out bag essential. Only at healthrangerstore.com.